It began, as many terrifying discoveries do, on an ordinary day. A day so unremarkable that no one could have predicted it would end with the unearthing of one of the darkest secrets in the desert Southwest. The West Mesa outside Albuquerque, New Mexico, had always been a lonely place. Flat, dusty, scattered with weeds and shrubs, it stretched endlessly beneath a sky that seemed too big, too bright, almost oppressive. For years, developers had eyed the land, planning subdivisions and housing projects. But until then, it was mostly empty space, silent, forgotten, and, as it turned out, hiding a nightmare. On February 2, 2009, Christine Ross, a local woman, clipped a leash to her dog and set out for a walk across the mesa. It wasn't unusual. People often took their pets there, letting them run across the open scrubland. Christine let her dog wander ahead, its nose twitching as it searched the ground. The dog suddenly darted forward, sniffing something sticking out of the dirt. Christine walked over, expecting maybe a piece of trash, a dead animal, something mundane. What she saw instead made her blood run cold. A human bone. Long, pale, unmistakable. It jutted from the dirt like a grim warning from beneath the earth. Christine froze, her mind struggling to accept what her eyes were telling her. Maybe she was mistaken. Maybe it wasn't human. She knelt, looked closer, and her stomach dropped. This wasn't just a random fragment of bone. It looked like a femur. A leg bone. From an actual person. Her hands shook as she pulled her dog away and reached for her phone. When she dialed 911, she could barely get the words out. She had found a bone, she said. She thought it was human. The dispatcher's tone shifted instantly from routine to serious. Officers arrived, their boots crunching over the dry ground as they approached the site. At first, even they weren't sure. New Mexico was full of bones, animals, cattle, coyotes, things that died under the scorching sun. But within minutes, once they looked closer, their faces hardened. Christine was right. It was human. Detectives marked off the area with yellow tape. What began as a single bone soon spiraled into something far bigger. As investigators carefully brushed away the dirt, they uncovered more bones, more fragments. It wasn't one person. It wasn't two. Over the following weeks, forensic teams excavated the site, unearthing grave after grave. By the time they were done, they had found the remains of 11 women and one unborn child. 11 lives cut short, hidden beneath the dusty surface of the mesa. 11 families who had waited for answers, now forced to confront the unimaginable truth. The scale of the discovery shook the city to its core. Albuquerque had always had its struggles, drug trafficking, crime, poverty, but this was different. This wasn't a single murder or even a single incident. This was systematic. Someone had killed, again and again, and chosen this barren stretch of desert to bury the evidence. For years, no one had known. The women had simply vanished, their families left to wonder. And all that time, their bodies lay hidden in shallow graves, the desert silently keeping the killer's secret. The media swarmed the story, quickly giving it a name, the West Mesa Murders. But locals soon whispered another title, one that sounded even more chilling, the West Mesa Bone Collector. The phrase conjured an image of a predator methodically stalking, killing, and discarding his victims like trophies. A hunter who collected bones instead of keepsakes. The name stuck, and the fear it carried spread like wildfire. The investigation became one of the largest in New Mexico history. Detectives, FBI agents, forensic specialists, all converged on the mesa, combing through the site inch by inch. But the desert is not kind to evidence. The bones had been there for years, exposed to shifting soil, heat, wind, rain. Whatever clues might have remained were eroded by time. There were no clear murder weapons, no obvious causes of death. No DNA pointing to a suspect. Just bones. Silent, fragile, telling only part of the story. Yet there were patterns. The victims were young women, many between the ages of 15 and 32. Most were Hispanic. Many were sex workers, some struggling with drug addiction. They had disappeared between 2001 and 2005, a span of years when family after family filed missing persons reports that went largely unnoticed. To the world, they had seemed like vulnerable women living on the margins of society. To their loved ones, they were daughters, sisters, mothers. And to someone, the bone collector, they were prey. One by one, the women were identified. Their names read like a grim roll call of lost lives. Michelle Valdez, who was 4 months pregnant when she vanished. Victoria Chavez, gone since 2003. Cinnamon Elks, one of the first women reported missing. The list grew, each name representing a life cut short and a family forever scarred. Some families had waited years, clinging to hope their loved ones might still be alive. Now, they had answers, but not the kind anyone wanted. Detectives struggled to understand the killer's methods. Why these women? Why here? And why stop in 2005? Because one detail stood out. After 2005, the disappearances seemed to stop. It was as if the bone collector had vanished, just as suddenly as he had appeared. Had he moved on? Had he been arrested for another crime, locked away before anyone connected him to the murders? Or was he still out there, watching, waiting? Suspects surfaced. One name that drew attention was Lorenzo Montoya, a man with a long history of violence against women. He lived not far from the Mesa and was known to solicit sex workers. In December 2006, Montoya strangled a woman in his trailer. But before he could hide her body, the woman's boyfriend shot and killed him. When police searched Montoya's home, they found ropes, tape, and signs of a man with disturbing tendencies. For a moment, it seemed like the case might be solved posthumously. But investigators could never conclusively tie Montoya to the West Mesa victims. There wasn't enough evidence. Another suspect emerged, Fred Reynolds, a man with connections to the sex trade. But he died of natural causes in 2009, just as the bones were being unearthed. His death left questions unanswered, suspicion without closure. And then there was the possibility, whispered among investigators and locals alike, that the bone collector wasn't one person at all. Maybe it was more than one predator. Maybe the Mesa had become a dumping ground for multiple killers, all using the same remote stretch of land to hide their crimes. It was a terrifying thought, because it meant there wasn't just one monster to fear, there could be many. For families, the lack of resolution was torture. They had their loved ones' remains, but no justice. No face to blame, no trial, no verdict. Just endless waiting, endless speculation. Some mothers and fathers turned to advocacy, fighting for better protections for vulnerable women, for sex workers whose disappearances too often went unnoticed until it was too late. They demanded answers, but the silence stretched on. The West Mesa itself became infamous. People avoided it, whispering about the evil buried beneath its soil. Those who did venture there described an eerie feeling, as if the land carried the weight of the souls trapped beneath it. Some said they felt watched, even though no one was around. The wind over the dirt seemed heavier, colder. A place of death that refused to forget. The mystery spread far beyond New Mexico. True crime enthusiasts, amateur sleuths, even paranormal investigators all speculated. Online forums buzzed with theories. Some said Montoya was the killer. Others believed it was a trucker, someone passing through who knew how to disappear without leaving a trace. Some thought it was law enforcement or someone with knowledge of police investigations, someone who knew how to hide evidence. The theories grew darker, more elaborate, but none brought real closure. Years passed, and still the bone collector remained a ghost. The official investigation slowed, though detectives insist the case is still open. New technology, advances in DNA testing, and forensic methods offer hope that someday, new evidence will surface. But for now, the Mesa holds its secrets close, its silence unbroken except for the whisper of wind across dry earth. And that is perhaps the most chilling part. Whoever the bone collector was, he got away with it. He hunted women, murdered them, buried them, and slipped back into the world unnoticed. Maybe he died, taking his secrets to the grave. Maybe he's still alive, older now, living quietly somewhere, never caught, never punished. Maybe he looks at news stories about the West Mesa and smiles, knowing he was never found. For the families of the victims, the pain never fades. They light candles, hold vigils, keep their daughters' memories alive. They fight to make sure no one forgets. Because forgetting is exactly what allowed the bone collector to operate in the first place. Vulnerable women went missing, and too often, society looked away. Until one day, Christine Ross's dog dug up a bone, and the desert finally revealed the truth. The West Mesa Murders remain one of America's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. A case that blends crime with horror, real-life tragedy with the chilling mystery of an unidentified predator. 11 women, 1 unborn child, all taken too soon. And somewhere out there, whether alive or dead, is the one person who knows exactly what happened on that lonely stretch of desert.